Hi, friends. Welcome to the Like-Minded Radicals, the podcast designed for individuals like you who believe there's a better way to work and live. Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us today as we dive into the world of gratitude. My guest today is the gracious Kevin Monroe, a conscious leader who discovered the transformative power of gratitude. It was in the depths of depression that Kevin unearthed the true essence of gratitude, realizing that mere expressions were not enough. It has to become a way of life. Since then, Kevin's been on a remarkable journey, infusing his gratitude into every aspect of his work, touching countless lives along the way. From hosting transformative gratitude challenges to creating a guided experience for private groups and companies, Kevin has become a global advocate for the practice of giving thanks. But his mission doesn't stop there. Kevin's dedication to spreading gratitude has led him to develop innovative resources like the Gratitude Challenge card deck, live immersive experiences, and the Flourish Journal available for purchase on his site. As the founder of this extraordinary life global community, Kevin continues to inspire and uplift others, reminding us all of the profound impact that gratitude can have in our lives. Super excited to delve into your journey, Kevin. Thanks for joining us on the Like-Minded Radicals.
Kendra, thank you for the invitation. And let's just stop right now and say thank you for everyone that's listening, for you that have chosen to dial into this conversation right now. I say that because, Kendra, I am aware how many millions of podcasts there are in the world right now. And so that you listening chose this tells me I'm going to go a little further. You're not just a like-minded radical. You're also a like-hearted radical. And there's something about the conversations you hear here that resonate with you. So I want to say welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. I appreciate that. Very grateful for that. And very grateful for all the listeners and this opportunity just to shine a light on the world of work, what's working, what's not. You know, we're in this really transformative stage where we're bringing all the lessons we learned from COVID, all of the revelations that we've had in our personal lives into the workplace. We're being invited to, as our employers are saying, we want you to feel like you really belong. We want to bring all of you, but we're not really sure how to do that. We're not really sure what that means. So walk us through a little bit of your journey and why gratitude.
Okay, well, I heard that introduction, so we kind of got to go there, don't we? I was raised in the southeastern part of the United States in a small town in Georgia. So I was taught, Kendra, certain things that were culturally relevant. I was taught to say please and thank you. I was taught to say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. So from an early age, I was taught politeness. And for much of my life, if you'd asked me, well, Kevin, are you grateful? I would like, duh, of course I am. Because anytime anybody sticks something my way, a plate of food, a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, a soda, a beverage, right? I say, thank you. Thank you. So of course I'm grateful. Well, fast forward many, many years back to 2018. 2018, April 17th, 2018, that morning, I couldn't get out of bed. And Kendra, I am normally a guy that gets up like this morning. I was up at 4 a.m., no alarm clock, right? I was just excited over what was happening today. But I'm usually up by 4:30, 4:45, 5 a.m. without an alarm clock. That morning, April 17th, 2018, I woke up several times. I looked over the clock and I saw, like, no, I'm not ready yet. Not today, not today. I'm not feeling it. Now, once I kind of started waking up and arousing, I understood I was at a place of despair, right? And I know enough now that I call them the deadly D's, and I'm not sure of the order, but there's discouragement, despondency, despair, disenchantment, right? All of those D's, and if you start feeling some of those and you don't recognize it and stop it, you're heading into a bout of depression.
Wow. Wow.
So
That
that
resonates.
that morning, I was like, "Oh, this isn't good." Right? This is not good. What I'm feeling, and okay, so now I'll just plug my favorite movie. It's a Wonderful Life. And in the opening scene, many people think of it as a Christmas movie, but in the opening scene, there's this conversation, and it's filmed in the 40s. So I'd love to see it, kind of done in modern technology, but stars are twinkling. And God is talking to an angel, Clarence, the bumbling angel. And he says, there's a man in trouble on earth tonight. And Clarence goes, what? Is he sick? And God goes, no, worse. He's discouraged. So when I feel discouraged, when I feel despairing, when I feel desperation, right? Those are things that kind of send up little signals. You need to do something, right? You need to
Yeah.
take care of yourself, right? So that morning, I am not feeling it. I struggle to get out of bed. 7:45, I finally roll out of bed. No energy, no zest, but I have morning rhythms that I've had for years. So I come in and I grab a journal and I sit down to pray, meditate, open my heart and my mind. And there was nothing. I
Mm.
mean, there was absolutely nothing to pray. And I ended up just crying, Spirit, spark creativity in me. And I'm probably in and out of sleep, quite honestly, right?
Yeah.
So 45 minutes later, there's just, boing, and I sit up and there was an idea. And the idea was 85, 90% fully formed.
Wow.
Launch a 90-day journey with a name. We called it the Extraordinary Experiment. And the idea behind the Extraordinary Experiment was for people like me, that when you look in the mirror, you see an ordinary person looking back, ordinary guy, gal, right? There's just ordinary.
Yeah.
You want to live an extraordinary life. You want it to matter that you live. You want to make a difference. Well,
Hmm.
how do you do that? Well, I had a hunch then, right? It was just a hunch. Well, what if we set out these 13 challenges that stair stepped? I mean, I remember week one was just the awareness challenge, simply inviting people to be aware of who and what's around you rather than self-absorbed or lost in your phone, a magazine, newspaper, book, whatever it is, when people were commuting,
Yeah.
back when people commuted, right? Uh, to be aware. Well, week six, and that by doing these things, these little things with extra focus, fervor, and flair, these ordinary things suddenly become extraordinary.
Mm.
Well, week 6 of that journey was called the Gratitude Challenge. And each week was called a challenge. So when we went to record the video on Monday to introduce the Gratitude Challenge, quite honestly, it was the first time in my life that I really pondered, are being thankful and being grateful the same? Are they
Mm.
synonyms? And I came to the conclusion, I'd studied enough, read enough, they're not. They're
Mm.
cousins, but they're not synonyms.
Okay.
And so we introduced that. We have this amazing week. I'll come back to that in a moment. But there are these 13 weeks, right? And then on Fridays, we just put out a survey and we ask people to look back on the week and see what happened, what was different. So now I'll just fast forward quickly to the next year, June, and it's kind of funny. It's about this time of year that we're recording in 2019. And I had leaned into gratitude for 16 months at this time, right?
Hmm.
Lean into gratitude every day. And that morning, I hear an invitation, host a gratitude challenge. I wonder what that would look like. I mean, I had no idea what it would look like. And
Yeah.
I had a friend that was coming on a podcast I hosted at that time that was called the Higher Purpose Podcast. And I said, hey, Steve, you want to host a gratitude challenge with me as part of the podcast? He said, sure. So we did. And then I can go deeper in that later if you want. But that took off like crazy, Kendra. And then
Wow.
that's when things got really deep. But it all started out of this personal quest. And I was not on the path to dig into gratitude. If I'm honest, and when I think back, I realized I had seen two diagrams in a book. Well,
Mm-hmm.
from a book. I didn't know the book. I just saw these two diagrams on the internet. They talked about the scarcity loop and they talked about the abundance loop.
Mm-hmm. Funny.
And
Mm.
the scarcity loop, if you just think of a wheel, and it's got four positions, the 12, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock positions. And I can gladly share a diagram that can be put in show notes.
Yeah.
But at the 12 o'clock of the scarcity loop is fear. At the 3 o'clock is anxiety. At the 6 o'clock is poor choices. And at 9 o'clock, negative outcomes or
Okay.
bad decisions, whichever way you care to think of them, right?
Yeah.
And so I kind of grew up in a scarcity mindset, right? We had plenty of love, but we didn't have a lot of other things in our home. But there was plenty of
Yeah.
love. I didn't know there was this scarcity mindset, but there were messages of scarcity that I grew up with. So I'm trying to break free of that. And then I'm looking at this scarcity loop. But when I'm in scarcity, Kendra, it is a sucking vortex down. It's just not going around in circles, right? Each time you go down, you're being sucked down the drain,
Right.
going lower and lower. So the abundance loop at the top, at the 12 o'clock position of the abundance loop is gratitude.
Gratitude.
3 o'clock is peace of mind. 6 o'clock, wise choices. 9 o'clock, better outcomes.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's a virtuous cycle up when you're on that like the scarcity loop is sucking you down.
Yeah.
When you're in the abundance loop, each loop is like climbing closer to the top of the mountain, right?
It's so relatable because I think, and so timely because my own, and I think this is true for so many people, my own transformative kind of journey, I think started with those same mindsets, right? It's that scarcity, it's the lack, which leads you into potentially exploring alternative mindsets, which could lead to things like manifestation, which then starts to push you into that gratitude, that awareness. For me, that was really almost the beginning of kind of my consciousness and coming back to my spirituality again was just all of those things. Thinking about, gratitude as that real catalyst for it. Can you really quickly go back to what the difference is between gratitude and thanks?
Yeah, I'd love
Can't
to.
skip that.
So in a nutshell, gratitude, saying thanks can be and is often transactional.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say thanks. I can be in any kind of situation or setting. I can be glued to my phone or stuck in some other thought. A person that I don't even pause to recognize as a human can stick something my way. I can grab it without any kind of connection and just utter thanks.
Yeah.
It can be robotic. It can be transactional. Where gratitude is the actual, in some of the etymology, gratitude simply means lingering longer in a spirit of thanksgiving. Lingering longer. Now, when I think of when I'm grateful for that barista or to that flight attendant, I pause and I see them as a human. I make eye contact if they're willing, right? But I am looking them in the face. I'm looking them in the eye, and I value them for that contribution, whatever it is. And I just take it and I go, thank you. I got a friend, crazy lady, her name's Vicky, lives in New York. She'll be in the Starbucks line and they'll hand her a cup of coffee and she'll see their name, just like I was raised. Hey, if somebody's got a name tag on, that's for my benefit, not theirs.
Yeah.
They know their name, but that's letting me know their name. And I'd go, hey, Kendra, or my friend Vicky would go, hey, Kendra, did you make this coffee with love today? And 9 times out of 10, you know what the baristas say? Why, yes, I did.
Yeah.
Now, is that a transaction or is that a transformational moment?
I mean, I can feel my heart like swelling it just with the thought of, yeah, showing actual gratitude in those little moments. My husband does the same thing, and I've tried to pick up the practice as well, of really utilizing the name tag. People, like you said, like to be seen and acknowledged. And that idea that we are all human, for me, that's one of the big kind of talking points here on the podcast is how do we really, really shift into this more human centric kind of
Yeah.
workplace culture. So how have you successfully brought that into, how did you first, I guess, really look at taking that into that corporate sphere? And how's that going?
So it started, right? Oh, okay. Boy, I'm loving this conversation. Thank you. Um,
You're the best.
and Kendra and I met in such the most bizarre way. I saw a post, I commented on a post, and boom, we're in a conversation a week later. So, folks, if you're on LinkedIn and you're wondering, should you comment on a post? You should comment on a post because it might start an amazing relationship with someone like it did Kendra and me. Uh,
Love it.
when it started, I was doing culture work, I was doing leadership work, but I was so
Mm-hmm.
impacted by gratitude that I would just start sessions with a question. And I still do this. I call it grounding in gratitude, right? How can we take a moment? And whether that's, hey, what's the best thing that's happened to you this week? Or what's
Right.
something I may ask, hey, what's something you're grateful for in this moment? Or what's fresh gratitude for you today? Or, right, you can ask that so many other ways. What's the best part of your day? What's the best thing that's happened? What made you smile? So
Yeah.
I'm doing that in all of the events I continued hosting in 2018 to 2019. And then in 2019, it was like, what if we did this gratitude challenge? And so I thought I would do one, maybe two gratitude
Yeah.
challenges. And so, I'm here in the States. Um, and all of this was done around a podcast schedule, not looking at anything else on the calendar, Kendra. But we hit episode 100 of the Higher Purpose podcast on Tuesday, July 2nd, 2019. And
Wow.
that's the day we wanted to announce this challenge. And we thought we'll start it the next week, which meant we're going to start it on Monday, July 8th. And it was only after we announced all of this, we go, oh, there's that little holiday in the
Yeah.
United States called the 4th of July. And it's, because you're from the States originally.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the week everybody takes vacation. Or if it
Yeah.
falls in the middle of the week, it's a long weekend for people. So July 4th was on Thursday that year. So we worked
Mm.
like crazy to get 100 people signed up. And we're thinking 100 is enough to do a statistically relevant sampling. And
Nice.
then on Saturday, July 6th, a friend of mine hears about this. And he says, hey, Kevin, can I share this on Twitter to my global community or my community? He didn't tell me he's global at that time. Can I share this? I'm like, sure, Steve. And on Sunday morning, he calls me, hey, Kevin, can I put this on my blog post today? At that point, his blog went out on Sunday. It now goes out on Thursday. Sure, Steve. Well, Steve Brown with an E, Browne, happens to lead a global HR community.
Uh-huh.
And in the 46 hours from the time Steve announces this to the time we close the doors on Monday, Kendra, an
Yeah.
additional 194 people joined the 100
Wow.
we had recruited. And we started this with 294 people. We ran it as a closed cohort. And that means on Tuesday, there are 100 people knocking on the door saying, we want in.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, what do you do? Well, you do it again. And
Yeah.
when we did the second one, we had 349 people join the second one.
Wow.
And then there are people on a wait list again. Kendra, long story, very short. We ended up hosting 22 sessions of that 10-day gratitude challenge that attracted
Wow.
2,800 plus distinct, unique people. Several people did it multiple times from 73 countries of the world.
Wow. Mind blown.
And mind blown. And
Yeah.
it doing that for 18 months, that all of a sudden, because I'm just doing these all the time. Every time we'd wrap one, we'd take a week off, then we're launching another one. We're launching another one. I didn't know this, Kendra, but in that time, I became the gratitude guy. I didn't know it,
Here's
right?
your
I'm still
crown.
doing And one day it hit me. A friend of mine, she leads World Blue. Uh, she calls me and wants me to do a webinar for her leadership. Tracy Fitton's her name. Tracy calls me and says, "Hey Kevin, would you do a webinar?" And I'm like, "Well, sure, Tracy. What do you want me to do it on?" And Tracy's like, "Duh, gratitude." And Kendra, I mean, it was that conversation, her saying, "Duh, I mean,
Yeah,
it was like nothing else conceivable that
right.
I could do a session on. And I'm like, oh, I've become the gratitude guy.
That's so cool. Oh, I love it. But I mean, what a response. Obviously, it really resonated. And as an HR person myself, I'm really intrigued and just pondering still on like how many HR kind of related folks through Steve
A, a
signed
lot of,
up, right?
hundreds,
Like
hundreds of
what is
them.
that telling us about our and honestly, again, as an HR professional, recognition and gratitude is something we are horrible at, and it's always a big nut that we're trying to crack. How do we really make people feel recognized? How do we really reward and recognize our people? And the reality is we get really focused on scalability and the technology that we're going to use. It's going to remind us when to celebrate their anniversaries. We completely lack focusing on the individual themselves and actually providing a message that is tailored to them, that is specific to them, and that is really full of gratitude. I think it's probably more giving thanks, like you said. And that's how
Well,
it feels.
yeah. So one of the things I've learned in this journey over the last 5 years as I started doing consulting. So when Tracy says, "So will you do a webinar?" I'm like, "Tracy, I'd love to do something, but webinar. No, 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 no. I don't want to show up as a talking head, right?
Yeah.
And lecture you about gratitude, blah, 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 blah." She said, "Well, what will you do?" I said, "I don't know. Let me think about it." So over the next couple of weeks, I'd ponder. And one morning I was on my walk and it just hit me. It was like, one of those epiphanies. Like, and I had a name for it. Let's do a gratitude encounter. Let's create
Ooh.
these this opportunity. And I hosted one today. I host them every month now, and I host them on the first Tuesdays of the month. We happen to be recording on a first Tuesday of the month. I hosted one of these at noon Eastern time today. And uh, it is an opportunity for people to explore, express, and experience gratitude. And we have a topic, we have a theme. So like today, it was gratitude in motion was our theme for today. And round one, it was talking about what is it like to experience? How do you experience gratitude? And what's that feel like? What do you do? And then round two, we always do something where we get people to express gratitude, the gratitude they have for someone. We get
Mhm.
them to express it to them, send them a text, send them a message, send them some kind of, "Hey, I appreciate you." And what are we doing when we do that? You've already touched on this. What we're saying is, "I see you. I value you," right? "I appreciate your contribution." And then round three was, how do you express gratitude? Right? What are the vehicles you use for expressing gratitude, and what are other ways you might want to try? So
Yeah.
it's the opportunity to experience, right? It's interactive. It's not listen to a lecture. It's come into and get in small groups and have a prompt and go into a conversation with some amazing people and talk about this. So I started doing this inside companies, and we would always custom tailor this to whatever's going on in the company. And well, okay, let me be honest. I didn't see that vision. I hosted my very first one of these public sessions in
Yeah.
October of 2020, and a friend of mine was there, and my friend Tobin says, "Kevin, you do know this is a commercially viable service, don't you?" To which I replied, "No, not yet, but I see the possibility. Will you help me?"
Yeah.
He said, "Yes, I will." Right. So then we crafted it into a service. We wrote a one pager about it. And then 6 weeks later, I had my first client.
Wow.
Within a year, Kendra, I mean, this is mind blowing stuff to me. Within a year, on the same day, the following year, I signed contracts with PepsiCo that morning and Pfizer that afternoon to do gratitude encounters for them.
Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh.
right? Because to your
Inspirational.
point, people understand that their people don't feel connected. Their people don't feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated. And
Yeah.
people everywhere want to feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated. And back to your question about HR and systems and all of this. Hey, the best positioned person in the organization to help an employee feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated is their immediate supervisor
Yeah. Yeah.
that can see them on the job in action and say, thank you. Hey, I saw what you did. I heard what you did. I saw the way you handled that client. High five, fist bump. You are a rock star. That was amazing. Whatever that is. And I've got a piece of data here. 80, and this is from OC Tanner. And if you don't know OC
Yeah.
Tanner, you need to look up OC Tanner, folks, because OC Tanner does some amazing research. 84% of employees say the simple act of giving recognition inspires them to think about better ways to get things done.
Yeah.
Right? When we see them, and another one from Gallup Work Human says that 72% say performance for little things is what energizes them, right? It's when they are told job well done for something that might seem small or insignificant, but their supervisor saw it, they
Yeah.
noticed it, they called it out, and that energizes them.
Hi, friends. I hope you're enjoying this episode with Kevin Monroe. He is an absolute treat and an example of how sometimes we're building something and we can't even fathom what it may become. The key is just to keep following your passions. So, with that in mind, I am so excited to introduce you to my brand new website, www.withkendraparker.com. This is your go-to place for everything I do: consulting, podcasting, live events, and more. Whether you need business guidance, creative inspiration, or a fresh take on how to grow, you'll find it all here. As a consultant, I specialize in helping businesses grow by bringing creative solutions to complex challenges. Whether it's navigating the future of work or redefining your employee experience strategy, I'm here to make things happen with you. I'm also a podcaster. On my show, I dig deep into what really matters for leaders, entrepreneurs, and change makers. We talk about finding your purpose, building a life that feels right, and making an impact that truly matters. It's all about sharing insights that spark growth and creativity and finding inspiration with other like-minded radicals. For those of you in Brisbane, I've got something exciting coming your way. I'm launching live events tailored for solopreneurs who need time and space to work on their business, not just in it. These workshops are all about creating real progress in a creative, relaxed environment, surrounded by others who get the entrepreneurial journey and are there to experience the trials and the triumphs along with us as we all build businesses we love. So, whether you're looking for guidance in your business, fresh inspiration from the podcast, or hands on experience at one of my live events, head over to www.withkendraparker.com and let's make progress with each other. And now back to our podcast. Interesting about this to me is that it is that spark. It is so intertwined with this idea that individuals don't know their strengths and that is lacking in the corporate sphere, it's lacking in the world, right? And so often, you do things that to you are a little thing because it's just naturally a gift that you have.
Yeah.
And then people start to comment on it. And so it's like, that can spark that awareness. Oh, I didn't recognize that this is a gift that I have, this is something that comes easy to me. It's it didn't take a lot of effort, but you don't notice it until someone calls it out and recognizes it and gives you that gratitude. So it's so interlinked with understanding those gifts. And the more that we call it out in others, I see you and I recognize these gifts in you, the more we can then start to think about what it is that we bring to the table and start to figure out how to articulate that. I love that. I
Absolutely.
love the
And to your point, right? People don't know what they do because
no.
it comes so naturally to them. They do it without thinking. They're not aware of it. And when a leader articulates that, right?
Yeah.
And so we teach some principles. We teach to effectively communicate gratitude and thanks and appreciation. Be simple, sincere, and specific.
Yep.
Right. So we use these cards. I keep one on my desk because I do this a lot, but we use these cards that on the front, they just say, I'm grateful for you. Two versions of the card. There's a 4x6 note card and then a little business size card. But if somebody were to give you the card and on the back, it says you rock. Right. Now, when you first get that, you feel really good. I rock. But then you get home and around dinner table that night, your family members say, well, anything happened today? Go, well, yeah, my boss gave me a card that says you rock.
Yeah.
Well, that's all. What did you do that rocked? And all of a sudden you go, I have no idea.
Crickets.
Right? But if they called out your gift that you didn't even know you had, and they said, wow, the way you did that analysis on the spot, that was amazing. You found, right? Whatever it is, whether it's analysis of running numbers or whether it is listening and helping an irate customer feel heard and cared for and diffuse the situation and win them over, keep them as a loyal customer rather than them getting ticked off and leaving. And you go, wow, you have a gift for listening to people and communicating with empathy, right? So what if your leader's communicating those kinds of things to you? Wow, Kendra, you're a champion of empathy. Oh, now I got this card today, and guess what? They told me I'm a champion of empathy. And your friends go, of course you are. We all know that about you, right? You just don't know it about yourself.
I mean, I really want to know, I don't know, like, where did that lack of awareness of our gifts or maybe we're, pressing it down. Like, I don't know when that happened, but it's that whole, don't be a tall poppy. I don't know when that started, but it's really frustrating because when you know your gifts and you are recognized for them, then you are so much more productive. You're so much happier. You're motivated. You're going to be a little bit more ambitious in that space potentially. Like this, it is such a gift to unlock that for employees. I love that you're taking this into that corporate sphere.
Okay. So Kendra, let me share two quotes. These are quotes I use all the time. Every time I do a session, these are in there somewhere. I used one of them today. But William James, who's credited as the father of American psychology, he said the deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated. And I find that it's so interesting that he says it's the deepest principle.
Yeah.
And that he called it a craving. It's not just an interest, right? It's a craving to be appreciated. And then Randy Pausch said, showing gratitude is one of the simplest yet most profound things one human can do for another.
Yes.
Right? And it doesn't have to be elaborate. It just has to be back to simple, sincere, and specific. And when we just say, wow, I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you, or is the language we use. I'm grateful for you. And here's why. And when you fill in that here's why. And so we've taught leaders, we've had leaders that begin to carry the pocket size versions around of their cards. And when they, Ken Blanchard said years ago, catch people doing something.
Yeah.
Right. Most managers catch people doing something wrong and correct them and bust their chops and, put them on the disciplinary plan and write them
Yeah.
up and final, this is your first verbal warning. Now, oh, do it again. There's a written warning. Oh, this is your final written one. Well, what if you catch people doing something right and go, oh my gosh, how
Yeah.
you handled that or how you figured that out? That's a rock star quality, and we want to celebrate that, right? Catch people doing something right. Affirm them for that. Catch people using their gift and call it out and label it so they can now understand, oh, wow, this is what I do, right? This is what yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, it is. You hear the word gratitude and you probably catalog it as in a certain category of, a little more, a little more out there, maybe, which is silly, but we do. And yet, wow, here we are having this conversation and I'm like really moved. So
Mm.
what are maybe like 3 takeaways or tangibles that someone can think about today?
Mm.
They hear this conversation and they're like, all right, what do we want to leave them with? A couple of
Okay.
tips.
So, um, and again, Kendra, I told you how organic this journey is.
Amazing.
Friends of mine say it's quite strategic, and I'm like, well, maybe it is, but there is no strategic plan. I can assure you of that. We didn't do anything because of a strategic plan. We stumbled on something. I heard myself, and it was 18, 24 months into this. I'm like, gosh, I get asked that question a lot, and I always answer that question the same way. Maybe I should think about this a little more. How can I be more grateful? If I want more gratitude in my life, what can I
Yeah.
do? Gosh, Kendra, it is so simple. We
Huh.
teach it as pause, notice, express. Pause, notice, express.
Mm.
And if anybody that's listening wants to do this, we have a 5-day journey, the Beginner's Guide to Gratitude. That's a free course, online course you can take. I mean, it's a daily drip. You get 6 emails, right, that walk you through this to teach you in about 5 minutes a day this pause, notice, express framework. But if you want to do this right now, folks, if you want to get better at this, just begin pausing a couple of times during the day. And when do you pause? What do? You just notice. You notice whatever good is going on around you, whatever the good thing that's happened in the last hour. If it's at lunchtime, what's the best thing that happened this morning at the end of the day? If I were to think, well, was there a theme that kept showing up today? Right. And you
Yeah.
think, wow. So you pause, you notice, and then you just express, whether that is write it in a journal, whether that is just speak it out loud, whether that is to make it a prayer to the divine, or whether it is for a person and you say to that person, hey, I appreciate you for this, but you just express it. So pause, notice, express. So pause. When you finish this listening to us, pause. Another thing you can do, and we encourage people to make this a daily habit. As a matter of fact, this is the other thing. This is so fun that we're recording this today. And I told you, it's like, wow, I had somebody on our team came to me 6 months ago, 7 months ago, 7 months ago, and said, Kevin, I think you should start a newsletter on LinkedIn. And so we wrote something out and we were about to launch it. And another team member who's a dear friend of mine, Christy, says, why are you doing this now? Asked the strategy question, and there was no strategy
Yeah.
behind it. Kendra was just like, what's an idea? Let's go, ready, shoot, aim. I mean, yeah, right?
Yeah.
So we were just going to do it. Well, we launched today because we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary of the I'm Grateful for You as a movement. And what if we get more people more focused and intentional on a weekly basis, at least
Yeah.
weekly? So we're dropping a weekly. It's one of the shortest newsletters you'll find on LinkedIn
Love it.
because it's inspiration, it is a tip, and it is an invitation to take action every single week to to think about somebody in a specific category, a different way to express gratitude, and inviting the listener, the reader of that newsletter, the listener of this show. When you finish this, also think about who's somebody that, and for today, I'll just say, who's somebody that has brightened your day or lightened your load lately?
Yeah.
And what if you send them a message right now and say, thank you. I'm so grateful that you are in my life. I'm grateful that you're on our team. Gosh, I think back to what the work you did on this project. I don't know what we would have done had you not done that. Thank you. I mean, what if you listening, when you finish listening, you just take 2 minutes and you send a sincere, simple, specific message to someone that says, I'm grateful for you and here's why, or I appreciate you and here's why.
I love it.
And Kendra, in our 2+ years of doing this, we've noticed something. There is the most frequent response received when people express gratitude. It's the same over and over and over. You made my day.
Yeah.
Wow, you made my day. Because just like you said, people don't have any idea of their gift. People don't have any idea of the impact of their action.
Right.
They're
Yep.
just doing something. They just saw, oh, you needed help. They're just doing that. Why? Because they're a kind, caring, compassionate person. They're a wonderful human being, to go back
Yeah.
to this. They're living in their humanity. They're not thinking, oh, there's Kendra. She needs help. No, they see something, they respond. And then when you see that and you go, thank you, they go, what? I didn't realize.
Yeah.
And then they go, wow, you made my day for calling that out.
Yeah. It triggers it. So I've talked a little bit about this in other episodes. I've become recently completely enamored with near-death experience videos.
Okay.
And there was one person who said that was part of their life review, was that they got to see how every interaction physically and emotionally impacted the people that they were interacting with. And it just brings you back to that mindset of, yeah, every interaction we have is an opportunity to leave a positive impression. And actually there is physical effects that happen. So you are really just blessing these people when
Yeah.
you're giving them that level of gratitude.
I call them moments.
Yeah.
Moments.
Moments
It's a
that matter.
moment when in the course of ordinary events, somebody does something, right? Back to that phrase, with extra focus, fervor, and flair, that
Yeah.
a otherwise normal event, ordinary activity, is all of a sudden extraordinary. It's a
Amazing.
moment.
Yep.
And most of us miss those moments.
Yep.
Or it's no big deal. We minimize them when we could magnify them by just taking a moment and saying, wow, what you just did was amazing.
Amazing.
What you just did was so kind, so caring, so compassionate, whatever the word is, right? Again, be specific, give them some meat on this. And if you do that, and okay, so let me give it, the formula is this.
Okay.
Simple plus sincere plus specific equals significant. That's a significant encounter. Multiply that times consistent, and it's transformational.
Wow.
If you want to transform your culture, begin expressing gratitude simply, sincerely, specifically, on a consistent basis. And you will transform your culture because people will catch on. That's the other thing. When people have gratitude expressed to them, they often express it to someone else.
It's a movement. Right? It's a movement. All right. Kevin, where can people find you?
Well, if you're on LinkedIn, please look me up. And fortunately, I guess I was the original Kevin Monroe on LinkedIn. So it's just Kevin Monroe. No anything else, just LinkedIn/in Kevin Monroe. Website is kevindmonroe.com.
Okay.
Because I wasn't the first Kevin Monroe to get a URL.
Mate, been there. Well, thank you so much. I am extremely grateful for this conversation. You've left me really inspired to start my day. It's just after 7 a.m. And I am inspired to show some gratitude to others. And just really excited to continue to follow along with you to see how these seeds of change really transform the workplace and the world. And look forward to having another conversation hopefully soon.
Oh, I'd love that. Thank you for this invitation. Thank you, you who are listening. Thank you for listening. Please reach out.
Yes,
Please tell me
yes.
that you heard the like-minded radical, because Kendra and I have a bond. I want to celebrate that, right? And I will remember being on the like-minded radical podcast. So thank you, Kendra. Thank
Amazing.
you.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, listeners. Bye-bye.